see the best in TV. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom. Sit back and listen. You will hear the best conversation of the year. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom.
Welcome to Talking with Tom. I'm Tom Dacey alongside Ed McCarver. Hello, Edward.
Tommy, how are you? You know, I look at that promo, and I think, who are those two kids in the promo? Then it comes to the live feed, and it comes to us. So, but I don't know who those kids are. But it's good to be back here. Got to do a quick mention. This past weekend, I had a chance to go to the Wallingford Chorus, their spring concert at Church of the Resurrection. It was awesome. It was with Matthew Campisi and Sandra Antonelli, and the whole chorus just nailed it, I think is the musician's term. But they were just awesome. I just wanted to give them a shout out.
And of course, you usually perform with them, but you took this semester off.
I took this semester off, and about the third song in, I was cursing myself, saying I wish I was up there. But they were having so much fun, and they did a phenomenal job. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. It was excellent music. Just like the type of music we're going to hear tonight.
Oh, yes. We have an excellent guest this evening, an old friend of ours. So without further ado, please help me welcome our good friend, Don Gioiella.
Hi.
Welcome, Don. How are you?
How you doing?
Good.
Don, I don't know how many times Don's been on with us, but
I think this is the second time.
It's the second time, so.
I was up here once before, but I think there was a different host. But
no, I'm sure there was, probably.
I want to ask you how you got started in the music biz.
oh, in the business, or how did I started playing when I was 12. I started guitar lessons, and as far as a business, I don't know. I had a lawyer once tell me, he says, you know, you really don't make any money at this. So I would never call it a business, you know. It's always been like a sideline, but I've always, you know, loved playing, and I continue to play. This is probably something like 50 years playing. So
Really?
Yeah, I should be a lot better. You know. But,
what made you decide to pick up the guitar in the first place?
I think I used to go to family gatherings, but my father's side was a big family, and I had an Uncle Charlie that played guitar, and I was just kind of fascinated with the guitar, you know, and he sang, and I don't know if that was one of the influences. My sister had the music lessons and the singing lessons. I had the guitar lessons, but I never had the singing lessons, but I turned out to be the singer, so it's kind of odd. And I've always been kind of good at harmony because I learned to harmonize with my sister, you know. So, yeah, it started a long time ago when there weren't any computers. TV was small and black and white.
Yes, and
so,
three stations.
Yeah, and music was a big thing, you know. It was always in the house.
Actually, the next question we had here was other than family members, do you have any musical influences when you started? And now that you've evolved, that you've been in the business 50 years, do you have influences now?
I think when I started, I kind of started just on the verge of the Beatles, and every guy my age, and most musicians the older ones that I ever hear, always talk about the Beatles because they were just so huge, and when they came on, that was it, when the Beatles came on the scene. But there were other people before that. I've always been into, you know, guitar players, love guitar, and even my influences now are just people from that era, you know, because there's so many people that are older than us that are still playing. The Stones are still playing music, you know, and all the Stones, the Beatles, the Allman Brothers were a huge influence for me. You know, the Allman Brothers were always once I saw them in New Haven the year after Duane Allman died, and I saw Dickie Betts, and he was just so different. He was just a straight-out musician, great guitar player. And it seemed like the other bands in that era were all about flash and that. And the Allman Brothers just came out and played music, and man, they blew me away. They were just great.
Is that a tough instrument to learn how to play?
The guitar?
How long? You said you started at 12. How long before you became proficient?
I still. No, it's a funny thing, you know. People, how long does it take to play? I mean, there's so many different levels, you know. I mean, I think I'm an okay guitar. I'm all right, you know, because there's so many different levels. You get to there's people like Chet Atkins and Mark Knopfler.
I remember was it Les Paul?
Les Paul, sure.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many people that are just so. I think that's all they do is play guitar all day. Eddie Van Halen, I think all he does all day is play guitar. You know, and so I mean, there's so many different levels, and it takes on a personality of its own once you start playing, and your style kind of takes on your own personality, I think. So, as far as how long it takes, I see kids that make me sick. You know, there's kids like 5 years old or 10 years old they just blow me away. I mean, so you know, it's a kind of a personal thing. You know, you can't really judge it by how long or how proficient you think you are. I think it after a while it comes down to a personal thing. You know.
Do you remember the first time you performed? And what that felt like?
Yes, I do. I was in 4th grade, and it was Miss Posner at Simpson School, and I played Solita Lindo. I think it was. And
did you nail it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I did. No, I probably didn't make very many mistakes, but I don't think I did good, no. I think it took a long time for me to think that I was any halfway decent, you know.
Do you remember being nervous or?
Always nervous. Yeah, I'm nervous now. So.
And we've talked about it because even before we tape, I think it's good to be nervous because it keeps you on your game.
Definitely, yeah.
Do you have something you want to favor
Share
us with?
I was thinking about this song, and this is the way I learned to play songs. I hear them over and over again, and this is a local songwriter that every time he came to town, he'd play this song, and he has a whole catalog of great tunes. But he's a Nashville songwriter. He's in the Hall of Fame. His name is Gary Burr. And this is a tune that he wrote.
Don Gioiella.
I thought I knew the girl so well. If she was sad, I couldn't tell. I missed the point, I missed the signs. So if she's gone, the fault is mine. Well, I know a whole lot of little things. Even though I know I can list them one by one, she'd still be gone. Her eyes were blue, hair was long. In '64 she was born in Baton Rouge. Her favorite song was In My Life. I memorized her every move. I knew her books, her cars, her clothes. But I paid no attention to what matters most. I never asked, she never said. And when she cried, I turned my head. She dreamed her dreams behind closed doors that made them easy to ignore. Well, I know I miss the forest for the trees. Now all I have to show when she walks out the door, a Colfax and nothing more. Her eyes were blue, hair was long. In '64 she was born in Baton Rouge. Her mother's gone, her father's tall. She moved out west when she was 2. The way she laughed, the way she loved. Oh my God, what did I do? Yeah. Oh my God, what did I do? paid no attention. I paid no attention. Paid no attention to what mattered most.
Gioiella. And you mentioned that song was written by Gary Burr from
Right.
Meriden Zone.
Meriden,
Gary
Connecticut.
Burr.
Yeah, he's in the Meriden. He got inducted to the Meriden Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. He's a great guy. When he comes in, I get to change the strings on his guitars and stuff. You know?
I think, didn't he perform at the Daffodil Festival, if not this year, then a few years ago?
He performed once with our band, because a lot of the people in our band, you know, grew up with him. So we had the pleasure of playing with him, and if you ever research him, he's played with just about everybody, and he's a unbelievable songwriter.
I'm going to show my age now, but we actually had an interview with him when I was
really?
at WMMW.
Oh, really?
Back in the
okay.
early '70s.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was radio, so I had a face for radio back.
You still do.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
So
An unbelievable talent.
and what you mentioned just kind of segues into our next question here. I know you've performed in different groups, including, I think, the River Street Band was one of your most successful bands. Is there a big difference between solo performing and performing with a group? And do you have a preference?
There's a huge difference.
Oh,
yeah. Well, solo, it's just me, you know, so any mistake I have to buy.
It's on you, yeah.
And, but bands it's a whole different dynamic. It's a lot of fun playing with a band. River Street was probably the longest band I've ever had together. It was 7 or 8 years. It's just everybody has different ideas. You know, it's kind of like a marriage, but with multiple people. You know, and it's a lot of fun when it's all working really right. And one of my favorite bands when I was younger was with Tommy Dorsey, and we were together about 4 years with a blues band, and we had just so much fun.
Oh, you with Tommy Dorsey's blues band?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Tony Hudon was the drummer.
Yeah, Tony was our drummer.
I do remember.
And we just had so much fun in that band. We were young, and you know, it was just a blast. You know, but when everything works, a band is a lot of fun. When it doesn't work, it's kind of like a bad marriage. It's just you don't even want to look at each other or show up, you know.
And you know when it's not working.
You know when it's not working. Yeah.
Now, you were an opening performer at last fall's Celebrate Wallingford.
Yes, I get
How
asked.
was that performing in your own hometown here?
I enjoy that. Liz, I can't think of her last name.
Landau.
Liz Landau that organized. She's very graceful, and she usually hires me to open up, and then yeah, it's a lot of fun. Once in a while, I'll bring somebody, a keyboard player. But last year, she called me last minute, so I did it by myself. And I enjoy that. Yeah, it's nice playing in my hometown. It really is.
And I remember it was I think it was later on in October because originally it was rained out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
I believe it was like the middle of October last year.
Yeah.
We've had some bad years. Yeah. With the
yeah,
weather.
But that was fun.
Yeah.
You've played locally at a lot of area restaurants in Traditions. In Traditions, I'm thinking of the place that you usually play.
That's kind of my summer home. We'll see what happens
So-
this year. There's new management up there.
But you have also played at the Dry Dock. I know you had a number of gigs,
Yep.
and there's a lot going on. Rumors about the Dry Dock.
That's where I first really met
Right.
you, was at the Dry Dock.
Yeah, I was involved. Anything musical, I kind of was helping with sound and setup. When we did a couple music festivals there.
Which I was at.
Yeah, we did a couple. Yeah, and matter of fact, we taped the whole thing.
Yep.
But I was kind of the stage manager in charge of getting bands on and off, and also played at, we put in some long hours. Had a lot of fun, and the Dry Dock, that was a different organization back then than it is now. It's gone through a lot of changes. Originally, it was Rick Figalewski that was the originator, and his brainstorm that started the whole thing. And he's gone through a lot of changes. And what's happening now, it's more or less like a club with memberships, and that's where it's kind of in a transition stage.
So it's not really closed for good. I mean,
No, no,
I
no.
drove by it tonight, and it
The-
looked like everything was
The
gone.
12-step meetings are still there. I think there's something like 14 meetings a week there. And like I said, it's in a transition period to get a membership to support it. You know, and it's a worthwhile place to have in the town because there are a lot of problems with drug abuse and alcohol abuse.
That was our next question.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is a need for it, and I guess in every town.
Every town. Yeah, we're not special. Yeah, definitely. It's always, you know, I mean, I started my drinking career here, you know, so at a very young age, and you know, so it's nothing new. It's just different chemicals and, you know, different things, but it's all the same shit.
We're talking with Don Gioiella. His friends might know him as Mish.
Yeah, there you go.
This is coming from someone who's been named Goober all these years. How'd you get the name Mish?
Oh, that was. I don't like to say anybody's name, but that was a friend that when I moved from the west side of town to the east side of town, I met a gentleman that I'm not going to say his name,
okay.
but he thought that I sounded like there was a Deputy Dog cartoon that had Misha Mouse in it.
Oh, I remember the Deputy Dog.
I think I used to imitate him just so I wouldn't get beat up, and it worked, you know.
Yeah.
And I got the name Misha Mouse. Yeah.
That's funny, because I got Goober from the Mike Warren character.
Mr. Goober.
Mr. Goober, yeah.
Oh, did you really?
That's how I got that
okay.
name all those
I think
years
I
ago.
called him one time.
Oh, did
Him and I remember Admiral Jack came up Center Street one time.
Oh,
Remember Admiral Jack
I do.
on Channel 8? Yeah.
We actually had Mike Warren on.
Did you
Couple of
really?
times.
Tom is
Couple
a
of
friend,
times.
or was a friend of,
Yep.
of Mike Warren.
Of course, he's no longer with us. He passed a few years back.
Yeah. You have played in front of big crowds, the Daffodil Festival and various other festivals, and also the coffee house type setting in front of you know, an intimate audience.
Right.
Preference there?
With a big crowd, I like to have a band. You know, it just I don't know if it's support, you know, or whatever. I don't know. There's really no preference. If I like who I'm playing with, and it works, and I like the way it sounds, then, you know, the more the merrier. As far as people, same thing. The more the merrier. But if it's a little intimate crowd, that works too. You
As
know?
a solo performer,
Yeah,
you prefer-
yeah. Either way, you know. I mean, yeah, because if you get a band in a small area, you tend to blow them out of the, you know, out of the place, you know, which we've done many times. I can't tell you how many times we've been told to turn down. You know? That's the first song. Even now, I still get told to turn down because I don't really hear. You know, I don't know what I hear, but I always get told to turn down.
Do you and you can play as loudly as you want, but do you? I think I don't want the boys in the booth to yell at me. But do you have time for another?
Sure.
I was gonna ask him. I don't know if I'm gonna put you on the spot, but one of your songs that I particularly like is "Get Your Mind Out of the Gutter."
Oh! That's funny because I was thinking about doing that. This is the only song, like, I don't consider, I'm really not a songwriter, but this one is the only one that I ever wrote, that I've ever played out, and I played it in Dorsey's Blues Band and a couple different bands, and I remember writing it at about 3 o'clock in the morning back in the 80s, and it was just a quick thing. I'm not really good with music, so it's just kind of like a straight bluesy thing, but I'm glad you asked, Tom. One of the reasons I don't write that much because there's just so many great songs out there, you know, and I know I couldn't write anything to compete with them, so.
Well, you're running around, baby, when you say you're not. You say you're cool when you're hot. Babbling like a little 3-year-old. Tell you the truth, you know the act's getting old. Get your mind out of the gutter. Get your mind out of the gutter. Get your mind out of the gutter, for the rain washes it away. Well, you said you never liked friends of mine. remember, baby, that payback's a bitch. Get your mind out of the gutter. Get your mind out of the gutter. Get your mind out of the gutter. All the rain washes it away. Well, I had more women than new pairs of shoes. I fell in love with maybe one or two. My daddy, he once said to me, well, why buy a cow, son, when milk's so cheap? Get your mind out of the gutter. Get your mind out of the gutter. Get your mind out of the gutter, for the rain washes it away. Well, you said you never liked the friends of mine. When I wasn't there, you seemed to like them just fine. You needed someone to scratch your itch. But just remember, baby, that payback's a bitch. Get your mind out of the gutter. Get your mind out of the gutter. Get your mind out of the gutter, for the rain washes it away. Get your mind out of the gutter. 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 Get your mind out of the gutter, for the rain washes it away.
You don't want to know the whole story? You don't want to know it. No.
How long did that take you to write?
I wrote down the words, I think, in about 20 minutes. There was a lot of inspiration, and there was a lot of, I think at the time there was a lot of chemicals involved too. So, yeah, so it was one, but it's funny, that's the only one that I've ever really performed out. I never considered myself a writer, but for some reason that's always been like a catchy little tune. People seem to like it. So.
Yeah, it's an awesome song. When we always ask, did you write the lyrics first and then the melody? Or?
I wrote the lyrics, and then, like I said, the melody is very basic blues. Yeah, I wrote the lyrics first and then the melody. Yeah.
We're talking to Don Gioiella, a local performer.
Summertime, I'm usually at traditions like all summer, and whatever comes up, like I said, the Celebrate Wallingford usually do that. And
how has YouTube helped the career of musicians?
For me, learning songs, the computer age for me for learning other people's songs is great, because you used to have to sit there and listen to a record. And
I was meaning for like exposure, say a new artist.
Facebook is about the best for me for exposure. But if somebody wants to see something I do, then YouTube, I refer them to YouTube. So yeah, I guess it works both ways. I never really research on how many people view what I do, but maybe I should. So. But maybe I would get depressed.
We're talking to Don Gioiella. We wanted to ask, at a lot of the clubs now, they have karaoke nights or DJs. Is it tough for a solo performer or a band to get work in, say, between the New Haven, Meriden, Hartford area? Or?
If a place wants a band, they want a band, but it's so much work. Like getting there. If you have to be ready for 9, you have to get there at 7 to set everything up, do a sound check. So now you're playing until 1, and now it's a full day, And the guys in the last band I was with, everybody's getting older, and it just got to be a little bit too much work, And then again, they want you to bring 50 people. And the older we get, the less people we know, and the less people that are around or come out, so it really is tough. I found it much easier solo. I tend to do like dinner crowds and wine venues and laid back kind of stuff, and that seems to work for me.
Yeah.
American Idol just ended its television run. What's your opinion on it? I was just going to ask you.
I think you just gave it.
That's what I was going to ask you, what your opinion was on American Idol.
I don't think too much about it. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, knowing Gary, and I catch little things that he says once in a while, and you have to have just so much. You have to have a lot. It's more than just a voice presentation. You have to be able to. They want so much these days, you know. And I think it's the people on American Idol are being brought into a false kind of thing where, you know, once they get back out in the real world, it's going to be very tough.
And I think I remember somebody said they thought that the contestants on American Idol or the winners haven't really paid their dues. They're kind of rushed right into the.
You know, I mean, they're not. A lot of the older artists, like, I like watching the documentaries on Netflix. I was just watching, even Twisted Sister. I was watching. They were in the clubs in New York for like, 10 years. These clubs, and they paid their dues, and they still had such a hard time breaking, you know. And the clubs doing that live, and those guys were doing it 7, 8 nights a week, and it's horrendous. It's a horrendous lifestyle. It's just, it's really tough.
A lot of burnout.
It's a lot. I think it's a lot easier having an 8 to 5 job.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I really do. That's what I chose.
We have about 2 minutes left. Wow, that time went by quick.
It did.
It did.
It did. And good. Do you want to play us out?
This is an Allman Brothers tune. Crossroads seem to come and go. The gypsy flies from coast to coast, knowing many, loving none, bearing sorrow, having fun. But back home he'll always run to sweet Melissa. Freight train, each car looks the same, all the same. And no one knows the gypsy's name. No one hears his lonely sigh. There are no blankets where he lies. In deepest dreams the gypsy flies to sweet Melissa. Again the morning comes, again he's on the run. The sunbeams shining through his hair, appears not to have a care. Now pick up the gear, gypsy, roll on. Roll on. Crossroads, will you ever let him go? Will you hide the dead man's ghost? Will he lie beneath the clay? Will his spirit float away? But I know he won't stay without Melissa. Yes, I know he won't stay without Melissa.
awesome, Don. Always a good friend of the show.
I'm glad. I was glad to come. Thank you.